All right. Um, Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to the start of a new series I like to call Chat Bandicoot, where we play Crash games and just sort of talk about whatever's on our mind. This is a largely unscripted video. This is kind of just going through uh, kind of thoughts, whatever topic I feel like talking about today. It's very largely inspired by Toasting Norks and Talking Mental Health over on Noel McDavid slash Not Ripto's father, whatever name you know her as. I kind of use both interchangeably. Usually go with just Noel or Noel. I used to say Noel, but it's actually Noel. Anyway, this is not about her. Sorry, no offense. We're not talking about her today. Um, Today, actually, I want to kind of talk a little bit more personally. If you are new to the channel, you know me through either the Simpsons Hit and Run videos, or maybe more likely through the Minecraft videos that I do. You've probably seen me play games, but haven't actually heard me talk a whole lot. You might have seen the SpongeBob playthrough I did with my well, she's my friend, but we call each other cousins. It's like an inside joke with Nicole. But today I kind of wanted to sort of talk a bit more candidly, talk a bit more intimately, a bit about myself, a little bit about sort of like, the person behind here, and what better way to do that than with playing one of my favorite games from my favorite series, a little bit of Crash Bandicoot, right? Everyone's favorite. So today specifically, as the title says, I want to talk about why I love the Crash Bandicoot games. Now, like I said, this is unscripted. I do have a couple of brief talking points that I would like to sort of like go by just to kind of help me stay on track a little bit. But these are very genuine, very kind of like open, candid honesty, that sort of thing. So, one of the main reasons I love Crash Bandicoot is kind of just because it's been around my entire life. I was born in 1999, which might shock some of you actually who know me. But of course, there's a lot of people who do know, exactly who I am or how old I am, that kind of thing. Not really any surprises there. But so I was born in '99, and growing up, my parents had a PS1, and boy, let me tell you, I loved that thing. I played it all the time. I was always on it. My two favorite games were Spyro and, of course, Crash Bandicoot. For Spyro, I had 3, and then Crash, we had both 2 and Warped. We got Crash 1 and then the other Spyros sort of later on, but for the most part growing up, those were the games that I played. And actually, Crash 2 was the very first game I ever played. My mom was telling me about how one day, for some reason, she just couldn't get me to calm down. I don't know if I was like, if she needed to do something and I just wasn't, I had nothing to do. I don't know if maybe I was just upset and she couldn't calm me down. For whatever reason, she decided to just turn on the PS1, put in the closest, kid-friendly game she could find, which I guess just happened to be Crash 2, and gave me the controller and kind of just watched me run over and over into pits and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it worked. Here I am 26 years later, I guess 24 years later, because I was 2 years old at this point, but here I am all these years later. I'm still playing these games. They got remade, and I still love them just as much as I did back then. Actually, growing up, I have this one specific memory of I was doing whatever in my room, maybe like playing with toys, or I don't know if I had discovered SpongeBob back then. I also really like SpongeBob, if you couldn't tell from the playthrough, but that's kind of that's a whole other story. um, but I was doing whatever, and then my dad called me into the parents' room, which is where the PS1 was at the time. The PS1 kind of moved all over the house. I think once we got the PS2, the PS1 actually was in my room for quite a bit. Because I remember waking up and playing Spyro 3 over and over. Well, not over and over, but like, I'd wake up in the morning kind of thing, whatever. But he called me into the room, and because he thought there was something I wanted to see. I look up, and he had every single crystal and every single gem in Crash 2, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I couldn't even fathom being able to do that myself. It seemed like such a far off, impossible task. Like, how could you do that? There's so much that you have to do. There's so much that I didn't even know about, because, like, I understood the logic of if you see the crystal, get it. If you break all the boxes, you get the clear gem. But like the color gems, how do you do those? All of them were different. The blue gem, you don't break anything. Some of them you find like throughout different courses of the level, but again, that's kind of outside of it. I just thought that was one of the most impressive, like, coolest things that my little baby mind could possibly comprehend. And that kind of stuck with me. Maybe that's kind of why I usually go for like max completion in games. I think that kind of like altered my brain chemistry. And now I try to go for 100%. I mean, look at me right now. I'm breaking all the boxes even when I can't actually break them. I regularly get all the gems in Crash 2 without even trying. It's second nature at this point, But I'll never forget how cool it was to see that for the first time. Him walking through the warp rooms in a circle, showing me all of the gems where they should be. It was just... it was crazy, I couldn't even believe that. And then when we got older, we got a PS2. I remember playing a bit of Wrath of Cortex. I don't really think I liked it as much as 2 and Warped. I do remember playing a lot of Warped. But it wasn't like my favorite to go back to. But I really did like playing. I also really liked playing. We had CTR, but we got CTR after we got the old Crash games, like after we got 1 again, and it stopped working because I accidentally left the console on all night, and the disc like overly scratched itself to the point where it wouldn't play anymore. So, that kind of stopped that from happening. But a game that I did play a lot and remember playing all the time was Crash Bash. I remember I would always pick Dingo Dial, and that's kind of why he's my favorite now, I guess. And I used to play with my sister all the time, and of course she would pick Coco, because that was the girl character, and we would just play. We would do the polar bear ones. We would do the crate throwing ones. I want to say we did the pogo ones as well, but I know I played those. But other times I'd have like friends come over and they would pick like, whatever their characters were. I had friends that picked Crash, friends that picked Koala Kong. Nobody I knew liked playing as like the scientists or Rillaroo, which is funny because the scientists are actually the best characters in that game. I think, like, statistically they're the best across all mini games, and Crash and Dingo Dial are like the 2 worst, which is hilarious. But it was just funny. I remember actually playing a little bit with my mom because Crash Bash was a 2-player game, and we would do multiplayer. So she would pick Tiny. Tiny was her favorite, and I would pick Dingo Dial, and we would play through like a couple levels. We'd usually like clear the first warp room, and then either her or I would get bored and take a break, and then we'd be like, okay, you know, this is the time we're gonna finish it. And for some reason, we had memory cards, but we just like always would restart from the first warp room. I guess we just liked it the best. Fighting Papu Papu was always really funny because he would like get really mad and he'd go roar, and then he would just he'd drop like the big stone pillar on his head, and it was just really funny. To such a young mind, it was like peak comedy, you know. But yeah, so I have a lot of memories playing that. I played, you know, that more than I played CTR, which is, I feel like, the inverse of most people. Most people played the hell out of CTR and kind of like played Crash Bash maybe every now and again, you know. But we got a PS2. I remember playing Wrath of Cortex. I think maybe it was like one of the first games that we had, but I just didn't like it as much as I liked Warped. And 2 and Warped were like they were equal. These days I definitely prefer 2. Just gameplay wise, I think it's really good. I'm not crazy about the vehicles, but I don't think they're bad. Wrath of Cortex, you know, it wasn't 2 or Warped, so I kind of played it a bit. I finished it, but it wasn't like my go-to. We ended up getting Nitro Kart at one point as well, and that one I remember playing a lot. There's actually a picture out there of me somewhere playing like I'm playing on the PlayStation, and like my mom took a picture from behind of me like waving, and you can see the save screen of Nitro Kart on the TV because I played it so much. I just always had that thing turned on. And then after that, the last Crash game I remember playing as a kid that like we owned was Twinsanity. I used to go, there was this like local used video game store. They're actually still in business now, which is crazy. But I used to go in with like sometimes my dad, but usually my mom, and we would look at the games, we would see if there was anything that we wanted to play. Like my dad was mainly the gamer, but my mom liked it too. My mom was actually really into Spyro. She was the one who was best at Spyro between like everyone in the family. That was sort of her game for a bit. But my parents both kind of stopped playing video games after a while. I think they just, you know, life just kind of got too busy. But you know, that's for another time. Today we're talking about Crash. But oh, I should have waited. Damn it! I can't get to the gyms anyway. Whoa! I'm playing this in real time, by the way. This isn't like pre-recorded. I'm actually playing. If you couldn't tell, I'm playing these games live as I'm talking, because I just find talking while playing Crash really easy. It's just I don't know, it kind of helps keep my mind my hands occupied while I'm talking. It's a lot easier for me to kind of like recall memories and share and stuff like that. Just sort of I'm just built different. Don't worry, I'm built different. Anyways, sorry, where was I? So yeah, PS2. So we used to go to this local game store all the time. And one time, I'm not going to get that right now, I don't feel like it. One time they had, there was always a copy of Twinsanity, and I recognized the characters as Crash and Cortex, because the cover art for that game, if you don't know, is Crash like standing on top of Cortex, pulling his hair, and Cortex like screaming. And the artwork always kind of reminded me of The Simpsons, and I liked The Simpsons. Actually, one of those trips, I got Simpsons Hit and Run, and that was my exposure to that game because I liked Simpsons so much. But I always saw Twinsanity just sitting on the shelf, just like every time I would go in, it would always be there. Every time we go in, it would always be there. And then I remember one day we went there, and I was like, okay, today's the day I'm gonna pick Twinsanity as my game. So we went in, I picked it up, and I showed it. I think I was with my dad at the time, and he kind of looked at it, and he kind of, huh. And he ended up saying that we could get it. I don't remember if it was like, I think it was just sort of something we did regularly. I don't know if it was like directly related to like, oh, you did well in school, or maybe honestly, just knowing my parents growing up, it was probably just my dad wanted to get a new game, and he was like, here, Kyle likes games too, let's bring him along, and if he picks a game that's like not stupid, he can take it home. But I remember that's the same store where I got since it's Hit and Run, I got the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game from there. That was my first SpongeBob game, actually. I didn't start with Battle for Bikini Bottom like most people did. I played that one a bit later. But that was on the old PS2. But anyways, Twinsanity, that was the last game that I played for, like, last Crash game I played for quite a while, actually. Because both our PS1 and our PS2 ended up breaking down at some point. They were old machines, you know, I was playing them all the time, and then as a kid, I was maybe, you know, doing things that weren't exactly the best for the console, but, you know, we we do it, you know, it's fine. But, you know, and then that was the last one for a little bit. Was just, that was the last Crash game I remember playing when I was young. I did not get another Crash game until around the time I was in high school, but that's, actually, you know what, I could probably talk about it right now. When I was, I think I was 14, I was 13 or 14, my parents actually divorced, and me, my sister, and my dad, we all moved to a small town. Whoa, okay. We moved to a small town just outside of where we were living, because my dad had a new girlfriend. That was where they lived, and that was where we kind of just wanted like a fresh start, you know, whatever. This was around right as the Xbox One, PS4, you know, when they were about to come out. So, like, EB Games was still selling 360 games and Wii games and all that stuff. And I remember there was a copy of Crash Mind Over Mutants that was there. And my new stepbrother, he swore up and down that it was going to be a great game. You know, he played Crash of the Titans all the time. That was his Crash game. And I was kind of like, you know, I was skeptical because it wasn't really, you know, like, that wasn't my Crash, you know, hashtag not my Crash. But I'm like, you know what, sure, why not? Well, sake of argument, it's Crash Bandicoot, let's give it a shot. We played it, I did not really like it that much. It was just, I remember the biggest thing for me, the biggest hurdle for me to overcome with that game was the fact that Crash could spin so much he would get dizzy, and that just didn't, it kind of just didn't really sit right, because I'm not gonna get that one either. It just didn't really sit right with me, because, like, Crash spinning too much, it's kind of like his whole thing. Like, you know, imagine if you, oh my god, I missed. Imagine if you were playing a Sonic game, and periodically, after you were running at top speed, he would have to, like, stop and catch his breath, because you were going too fast for too long, and it's like, that just, I understand from a gameplay perspective, it was supposed to, like, balance out, because I guess the spin was, like, the best move, but it just didn't really feel true to the character for me. It kind of just felt like they didn't really get, like, it felt like they wanted to make, like, a fighting combat game, and then decided to kind of, like, throw Crash in there afterwards. You can go back here, by the way, I don't know if you knew that, but this is a little secret you can do. But, so that was the last Crash game that I played before Insane Trilogy came out. And this was obviously way after Crash games stopped being made. I think I had one of the iPhone... Yeah, I had one of the iPhone ones, like one of the iPhone kart racers that they did. I think it was Nitro Kart 2. The one that used, like, the Twinsanity era designs. They weren't quite PS1, but they also weren't using the Titan designs like the other Crash Nitro Kart mobile game was. I think that one was called like 3D. Whoa! That wasn't right. Oh boy. But anyway, that's kind of like my history with Crash. That's sort of me growing up. You can kind of see it's always had a place kind of somewhere in my life, even if it wasn't at the forefront. It was always kind of there in the background. He was always there for me. He was like the friend that you know, we might go a couple months without talking, but once we reconnect, you know, it's like nothing was lost, and it's pretty cool to have that, you know. It's pretty cool. I gotta say. It's a very easy kind of game to slip back into, I guess, for me, like in terms of gameplay. If you couldn't tell, I've been sitting here yammering and yapping for a bit, and I haven't missed a beat, well, except for that one death over there. It's just, these games feel like, I kind of play these, I guess, the same way that people play, like, Lego games, or whatever kind of games that they relax with. It's very, like, second nature. Like, I can almost play these games without really thinking. Like, I could kind of, like, cross my eyes and still be able to play them, because I'm just super used to them. They're just very, they're games that are very just comforting. They're very calm. I can play them and not have to worry about what's going on in life. I can escape. I can not have to worry about what's going on in the world. It was like that as a kid in high school. It was like that. It's like that now as an adult. You know, we all kind of need that thing that we can kind of just. Oh, sorry. We all need that thing that we can just kind of like slip into, takes our mind off of things. And I think Crash, not only is it very comforting for me, I think it's also just a very unique series. Like, gameplay-wise, there's not really anything like it. And I know that a lot of people would say, oh, it's like a combination of like Mario and Sonic, but I don't think I would agree with that. I think Crash's like sort of hallway style is very unique to itself. I think a lot of the games that came out, like, you can kind of tell which games sort of had their level designs inspired by Crash. I would even say that, like, Mario 3D World kind of is based on it. That one's, I don't think it was, like, directly, though, but I think it sort of laid the groundwork a little bit. There are a lot of games that, whoa, I thought that was a bouncy one. There are a lot of games that kind of, like, owe their, like, roots to Crash, I would say, and that's really, and I think it's just something that shouldn't, I think it's something that not a lot of people know, but I think it's something that should definitely be admired. Oh, I shouldn't have tried to jump! Oh, no! Oh, well. Fuck it, we ball. Yeah, it's just very easy to get back to. I can play it any time of the day, never have to worry about it. It's very unique, and also just the characters are like, really recognizable, but I wouldn't even say that they're like oversaturated. It's not like, you know, I can show you like Crash, I can show you Aku Aku, I could show you Dingo Dial, and even if you've never played the games, you'll probably be like, yeah, I've seen that guy somewhere before, that looks familiar to me. But it's also not like, you don't see it everywhere. It's not like Mario or Sonic where you can walk into Walmart and see like 200 stuffies of him just lining the walls, you know. He's very like, you only really see him a lot if you seek him out, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that he's a bit more, I don't really want to say niche, but he's more specialized, I guess. You know, he's not somebody that you're going to see everywhere unless you really want to see him, and that, I think, makes him really valuable. But anyway, that's kind of everything that I wanted to address. I kind of neglected to talk about the Insane Trilogy itself, and that's because I'm saving, I wanted to save that topic for its own separate entry, because I have a lot to say about the Insane Trilogy. Like, actually, looking at my notes, I have, like, a couple, like, bullet points about, Crash as a whole, and then the entire rest of the document is about the Insane Trilogy. because I just have so much to say about it. And like I mentioned earlier, this series is not going to be limited to just Crash Bandicoot. We're going to talk about other stuff too. I want to talk about my new fitness regimen. I want to talk about some other things I like. I want to talk about some music I'm into. I want to talk about movies, some other characters I like. Pretty much anything is on the table. There are a couple specific topics that I will refuse to address. We'll kind of go into more of those probably a bit later on. But we're going to grab that gem, end on a high note. But, yeah, so that's it for, this video. Thank you very much if you listened to my rambling all the way to the end. It means a lot. I hope, if you're watching, you have a great day, night, whatever. If you use this as a sleep aid, great dreams. I'm happy that I'm calming enough to you that you can comfortably do that. And I guess with all that said, thanks again very much for listening, and I hope everyone who's watching has a great night.